Somehow, someway, ladies and gentlemen, the Steelers walk away with a victory 26-22 in Heinz Field on Monday Night Football and now have a win in the win column. Their first win of the season, and they hand the Browns their first loss of the season. And an incredibly exhausting game, an exhausting victory, a game that was dragged, honestly. It dragged so much due to injuries and penalties and stuff like that. First of all, before we get into anything, big prayers up to Nick Chubb. Very terrible injury. It looked horrible to watch. And a player like that you respect, that you love to watch so much, even us as Steelers fans, man, you never want to see that.
No, can only wish the best for Nick Chubb in his future, and prayers to a speedy recovery.
Absolutely, man. Big prayers up, big hopes for Nick Chubb and a good recovery, man. Seriously, that looked terrible. Otherwise, I mean, he was tearing this defense up.
Yeah, before he went out, he had 10 carries for 64 yards. The majority of that was in the first quarter alone before he went out early in the second quarter.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't stop Nick Chubb. We couldn't find an answer to stop him. Not one answer. I mean, but at the same time, it didn't stop the Browns from still trying to run the football. And Jerome Ford, their number 2, ran all over us. Very similar to what Chubb did. Now, granted, all of Jerome Ford's run, all his rushing yards was on one single run. It was a 69 rush that almost went for a 70-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
But that play was terrible, dude. I mean, they plugged the interior push, the interior path, and then I think it was Wallace who committed inside instead of bouncing back out and covering the lane where Ford went all the way up the left sideline, and it led to a long rush, which eventually gave the Browns a score. But thankfully, man, the defense stepped up when they needed to, and they made some plays. They made a lot of plays tonight. They made a lot of errors at the same time. This entire game, from a lot of angles, from every aspect, was dirty. It was ugly. Yeah. It was disgusting. This was not a pretty win in any fashion. This game itself was sloppy from everybody.
As it usually is when it comes to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Almost every game is pretty much like this, and this is something that we should be used to. It's just every time it's very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, especially when given the chance to get extra points or
close it out.
And just,
they don't make it easy.
They don't at all.
It should be easy. It's simple stuff. It doesn't take a rocket science. It's not rocket science. Like, come on.
Yeah.
It's simple stuff, and they don't do it as advertised.
Like you said, man, they never make it easy on us. It's just how the Steelers are, man, and that's how we're gonna have to roll the rest of the season, because we're stuck with what we have for the remainder of the year, and I don't think anything's gonna change. I don't think much is going to improve. There has been very little progress from last year.
Very little,
and that's mostly on the offensive side, which is where we're going to start.
Yeah, let's get to that. Let's get that out the way.
First of all, I think the only way to start off with the Steelers offense is the fact that the defense scored more touchdowns than the Steelers offense. In fact, this season overall, for the first 2 games, the Steelers defense has as many touchdowns as the Steelers offense. That is not a joke. That is facts. We won this game because the Steelers defense scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
One which was the first play of the game, an Alex Highsmith pick 6, and one that was a strip sack by Alex Highsmith, picked up by T.J. Watt, which gave us the lead and eventually the victory, victorious score. So
I know the game was too ridiculous to watch. I understand.
But I mean that's a testament of how this game went, of how this offense is,
or just how much we have to rely on the defense.
A little too much. Back on the offense, Kenny Pickett had a very rough game again. He's showing you that he's having a sophomore slump. If we're being honest, he's still looking more like a rookie this year than he did all last year. Not a great game. Yeah. Not a great game at all. He missed a lot of reads. He missed a lot of throws, some that could have extended drives, some that could have given first downs. Some were behind his receiver, some that he just panicked. An interception that we still, to this time, have no idea what he was looking at, what he read. Yeah. It was a terrible interception on his part.
He just did not see the defender. I think it was Grant Delpit who got the interception. He didn't see him, and even after that, Pickett still didn't look too good out there.
And most of his completions, most of his passes were just checkdowns, whether that's by design, whether that's what he saw or what he didn't see down the field. Regardless, it's dirty. It's vanilla. It's not successful football. And it's not what you want to see from your second-year quarterback. It's not. Kenny Pickett has not looked good whatsoever this season.
And the one highlight he really did in today's game was that one touchdown to George Pickens, which was a 71-yard touchdown where he threw it accurately towards George Pickens down the middle of the field, and Pickens just did the rest.
In fact, Pickens did that a couple times this game where they targeted the middle of the field, and guess what? It ended in a big gain. One was a touchdown, and a couple first downs. George Pickens had a career game. 4 receptions, 127 yards, and a 71-yard touchdown, catch and run.
Yep.
George Pickens, man, in his first game as the Steelers' #1 wide receiver, broke out, had a career game, and is looking real good, man. George Pickens absolutely balled out, man. He's the offensive MVP tonight, in my book. Behind him would have to be Jaylen Warren, who had 66 yards off of 4 receptions, plus he did get some first downs for us in the ground game.
Yep.
Speaking of the ground game, we only got 55 carries off of 21 yards. Or
55 yards off 21 carries.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just not good. We still can't get a ground game going.
No.
We invested how much into the offensive line? We have a good 1-2 punch, and we still can't get nothing going, man. In fact, the only time we did get something going in the ground game was when Najee had back-to-back runs, which for a combined yards was 38 yards, and that drive still went nowhere. Najee ran his ass off that drive, and it meant nothing. And up until that point, Najee had 6 carries for 4 yards.
Yeah.
It's just terrible. That is not successful football.
No.
By any means. The rushing offense is still very lackluster.
Yeah, it's not exactly the way that we had envisioned the Steelers to use Najee and Warren. Like, I don't know what's going on there. The rushing attack is just very lackluster. It's inconsistent. Even when they have the lead, when it's the time where they should drain the clock out and get something going on offense to drive them down the field, to maybe get more points on the board, extend the lead, they just don't do it.
No.
They don't do it.
No. And honestly, this may be an unpopular opinion. I feel like we got to give Warren more touches.
No, I agree.
And I'm not saying bench Najee. All I'm saying is reverse the roles. Reverse the touches. That's all I'm saying. This is literally a carbon copy of Tony Pollard and Zeke from Dallas. Like, it's nothing against either guy. It's nothing against Najee. It's just you play the more explosive back. You play the more, successful runner when you give him the football.
Yeah.
That's just how he is. It's nothing against Najee. He's a little slow and sluggish towards the line of scrimmage. I know he doesn't have a lot of success running the football, and Warren didn't have much of that tonight either. But Warren's just the more explosive back. He's the more successful runner. He's someone we got to run the rock with a little bit.
Yeah.
I think we ought to just switch the touches. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but Warren's the type of guy that's going to stretch the field a little bit more because he has more speed and more burst when he has the football. As soon as he has the ball, he's a heat-seeking missile. He just goes straight down.
Yeah.
As soon as that ball is in his hands, he goes.
But
looks like he's going to be a gunner almost every time. But you can still use Najee in proper situations as like short yardage or even touchdown situations because Najee can get those type of runs in.
Easily, exactly. But outside of that, George Pickens had a career game, and that was it for the Steelers offense. Nothing else. Otherwise, there's zero progress from last year.
No.
Very little, if any. Nothing has changed. Nothing has improved. Nothing has gone further than that last year. Nothing whatsoever. The offense is still dead. And there were actually a couple terrible play calls that could have cost us this game. There were points off the board. There were drives that were incomplete that just went for nothing. There was bad clock management from the coaching.
Yeah, there was even a time, because I want to mention it, there was even a time before halftime, was when T.J. Watt sacked Deshaun Watson, which actually caused Watt to be the Steelers' sack leader in team history.
Yep.
He now holds that title. But around that time, and it was before the end of the first half, they had 57 seconds left, if I'm not mistaken. They had 3 timeouts. They let the clock drain almost 30 seconds and then finally called a timeout only to go into halftime and take a knee.
Yeah. They could have went down the field with 50-something seconds and 2 timeouts.
They could have tried to get more points on the board, at least a field goal, extend the lead a little bit.
Whether you trust the offense to do that, I understand. But you don't want to live in your fears, right?
No, you don't. And that's why I want to point it out. It's worrisome. It's like, why would you not want to try to...
It's not just that, but certain play calls in certain situations was just terrible tonight, man. Matt Canada's game planning and his play calling, and obviously the execution was terrible. But when you got a guy like him running what he ran tonight, and what he's been running for how many years now. It's so bad, dude. It's so bad. It's frustrating, man.
Especially one specific play that put us in a predicament where we could have lost the game if it wasn't for the defense. It was 3rd and 1. Kenny Pickett ran the ball, but they had him designed to do a quarterback draw on a 3rd and 1 when they easily could have sneaked it.
Yeah.
So Pickett was primed to always have the ball and run with it.
But you don't sneak it.
You don't sneak it.
Or you could have just ran up the middle with one of your lead backs. All you need is a yard. You tell me you can't get a yard with one of your lead backs? Or if the game plan was to give Kenny the ball the entire play, it's an integrity issue. That's the problem. It's a fucking integrity issue. It's fundamentals, really, dude. It's not rocket scientists, but they make everything so difficult. So frustrating, bro. Thankfully, the defense came in clutch toward the end of the game. Otherwise, outside of the turnovers, outside of, 6 sacks?
6 sacks, 4 turnovers, 2 defensive touchdowns for the defense.
Outside of that, the coverage was terrible. Levi Wallace had a terrible game. Patrick Peterson is not looking like a great addition, at least not yet. The rushing defense couldn't stop a nosebleed.
No, I'm looking at the Browns' rushing attack. 35 carries for 198 yards and 1 rushing touchdown.
Yeah, it was bad. So, very similar mistakes from last week in terms of coverage and not being able to stop the run. They were just able to get more pressure on Watson and were able to get more turnovers and obviously got more touchdowns than the Steelers offense did tonight.
Yeah. If it wasn't for the Steelers defense scoring those 2 touchdowns, we would not be here 1-1.
So, although the Steelers defense almost cost us the game in certain ways, they also bailed us out a lot because not only did they get pressure on Watson, not only did they get 6 sacks, not only did they get 4 turnovers, 2 of them were returned for touchdowns, they were able to force the Browns to make mistake after mistake after mistake. And what I mean by that is constant penalties that were drive killers for the Browns.
Yeah.
Drives that were going down the field that were looking promising, that could have gotten them extra points, actually could have won them the game. But thankfully, man, the Steelers were just causing pressure and they were trying to make play after play. It forced the Browns to make mistakes and forced penalties and were drive killers for them, man. So those are silent weapons when it comes to the defense. So shout out to the defense for that. But overall, it was, from a team effort, it was very ugly. Ugly on both sides, but thankfully the defense came in clutch when they needed to.
Yeah.
They made the plays necessary. And again, dude, I don't care how you win football games this year because we've kind of already know what to expect from this team, bro.
Yeah.
You can't get your expectations any higher than what they already are. You can't expect this team to go any farther than what they already have. So I don't care how you win the game. If it's as ugly as this every week, I don't care. Just get a win. And that's what they did. And for that, I'll take it. I'll take the dub. I'll go to sleep happy.
At this point, that's what's going to have to be, but it's kind of sad that we kind of have to have that as...
Yeah, we got to stoop low to that level to be like, let's just get a dub. I don't care how you do it. I obviously would love it to be as convincing and as, elite level, but obviously this team has ways to go before even coming to that. Ways to go, man. Those days are past us.
I'm not satisfied with getting ugly wins. I will take a win, don't get me wrong, but I'm not satisfied about these ugly wins because it's not going to get us far.
You're right, it's not. It's not.
But that's what we have come to, and it's sad. Unless certain change happens. Unless these wins are just going to be the one saving grace for these people to save their positions and their jobs.
Yeah.
Which seems to be the case all the freaking time.
Right.
Which sucks because you're going to have that win cover up everything. Oh, look, we got a win. Yeah, but the way we played, it wasn't great.
It was not great. It was incredibly ugly on both sides of the ball, but thankfully the defense stepped up when needed to. Otherwise, the offense looks like the same offense we've seen. No progression, no progress, and no improvement. And it's just a collective team failure. It's a collective team disaster. The coaching is obviously atrocious. Canada needs to go. We will say this every week, even though we know he's not going anywhere because traditionally the Steelers don't fire coaches. And I'm not expecting anyone in the front office to say something or light a fire under the guy because they don't put coaches on hot seats.
No.
They haven't done that in years, bro. They haven't done that in years. They wait till the contract runs out and then they hire the guy under him because that's the new standard now, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm.
But not only does the coaching suck, but the player execution's terrible, dude. The players are just not executing well. Kenny's looking terrible. Outside of Pickens, the targets weren't really getting open and they weren't really doing much, right?
Yeah.
The O-line still sucks.
The O-line's very shaky. I don't know what that was tonight between Cleveland.
And they're going to have to step up for next week because we go into another primetime matchup on Sunday night in our first road game. And it's a terrible time to have a road game right now on a short week. And our first road game happens to be against a team where we have not beaten them since, 1995? It's been a long time since we beat the Raiders at their home.
Yeah.
But that's going to be our first road game all the way south on a short week.
And seeing
And
how
we got this to try to bounce back on.
or build upon, but what exactly can we build upon? We're not building anything.
No, we're not. We're just...
It doesn't look like
I don't
it.
even know
what can you build around.
I don't
this?
even know what we're doing. We're just
trying to get by. It's just that's what it comes off.
You're right. We are literally just trying to
Get by, get a win. Let's get a win. That's it. They're not even trying to make a statement. They're not even trying to do this, do that, stand out. Like Jesus Christ.
Exactly. That's just the vibe. That's the feel.
They're not trying to intimidate teams. They're not trying to showcase that, hey, look at this young team that's coming upon the NFL and the league, you know. Look at the Steelers coming back, you know. It doesn't come off that way. It just comes off as them just doing what they got to do just to get by and get a win.
So we're going to have to bank on the defense to continue to not only score touchdowns for us, but make play after play and make turnover after turnover. Otherwise, we got Adams next week, and our secondary can't cover anything.
And we got Josh Jacobs, who's looking to bounce back big time.
Yes. So we have another tough matchup, and the Raiders just typically have our number. So we're going to have this to build upon, and hopefully in our first road game, we can kind of come away victorious in the second primetime matchup. But we'll see how that goes. We have this to build upon. We can only grow, right?
I say it all the time. I say it all the time. The only way is up. The only way is up. They have to go up. If we sound down and everything, listen, I apologize, but this is the same thing that's been happening for years.
There's no difference there's no difference.
We said this last week.
Anywhere.
We said this last week. We're going to say it again. What we saw tonight was pretty much exactly what last week was, except we won and our defense got defensive touchdowns.
There was no difference anywhere, dude. The ugliness of this victory tells you that, honestly. But I'll take the dub. It's ugly. Typically, you don't want to be satisfied with an ugly victory, especially with the state of this team. But at that point, with the state of this team, you'll just take a dub in any fashion. So I'll take it.
But I do hope, for the love of God, that they grow and build something upon this.
Hopefully. Otherwise, the Steelers' defense is just going to have to keep scoring touchdowns more than the Steelers' offense, bro. I swear to God, man, it wouldn't surprise me if at one point the Steelers' defense is going to score more touchdowns than the Steelers' offense. It happened tonight. But throughout the whole entire season, that's the only way we're going to be able to win football games, because this Steelers' offense can't get no points on the board, bro. They can't. So shout out to the Steelers' defense. Shout out to Highsmith. Shout out to Watt. Shout out to the pass rush, man. So they came up clutch. They came up big, man. And, again, we'll take the dub. We beat the Browns. That's always good, right? That's always good.
We got our first division win of the season.
We got our first division win in our first division matchup. We beat the Browns at our house. I'll take it. And our Monday Night Football streak continues, since we have not lost a home Monday Night Football game since 1991. So, again, I'll take it. But we got the Raiders next week. Hopefully the team can continue to build and bounce off of this. Otherwise, we got a short week. Let's prepare for this. Here we go, Steelers, at the end of the day, right? Here we go, Steelers, and hopefully we can get 2 straight. Here we go.
And as always, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you later. Peace! And that's the take, guys.